Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. We're doing a special show today. This is Joe in the pilot seat. We're doing a special show today. And you know what? I'm just being selfish. It's all about me. Today is my 50th birthday. And I thought, who are some individuals on the podcast world and Star Wars world that I've really enjoyed listening to and now talking to in over the past few years? And I picked out these three. And you know what? Because they are such good guys, they decided to jump on with me on my birthday and just talk Star Wars and random topics. And so I'll go around and do introductions, but you know, we'll start. I'll just start clockwise and move the other way on my screen here. We've got the talented and the most listened to man in South Georgia radio, I believe, Scott Ryfun is with us. Scott, welcome to Rule the Galaxy again.
I am so glad that you asked me to do this. It gets me out of work, and that's awesome. So happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thanks for being here. Then right next to him, we've got author extraordinaire who's written tons of things related to Star Wars and Marvel, Mr. Adam Bray. Adam, how are you? And thanks for being on the show with us.
Hey, it's previously Fat Adam.
I love that line.
And I'm already out of work, so this just gets me on a podcast, and I'm excited about that.
Well, I think the pre-show talk, hearing that you have to drive 2 hours to get to your closest target, that hit pretty hard to me right there. Because if I did that, I'm not sure what I'd be doing with my life. I have to be very close to everything that's going on. I keep trying to talk my wife into letting us get a condo in downtown Indy where I don't need a car and I can just walk to everything I need.
Something
downtown.
in the circle.
Yes.
Get you a place in the circle. You'll be good.
I agree. And last but not least, one of the most entertaining guys who actually, I was really hooked on everything Star Wars, but this young man has got me almost as hooked on Marvel and things like that because his show just brings so much information about it. Mr. Steve Glosson from Geek Out Loud. How are you, Steve?
Well, I tell you, I don't belong in this company. That you got Adam, you got the greatest radio voice in Georgia, Scott Ryfun, and I am not the least, especially since Adam and Scott have lost all that weight. Now I am the most. So it's great to be here. Happy birthday, buddy!
Thank you very much.
I hope that it all ends up being great, and I hope we don't derail this show too much. I'm with Scott on here. It's going to be fighting for airtime, and then Adam's going to do what Adam always does. He's going to come in with like a left hook that's going to slay us all, and so that's my prediction for the show.
Steve, what is the pattern on your shirt?
It's kind of, I think it's like a swampy bayou thing.
Okay,
there's some marsh grass and like a little house of some sort.
It was a little pixelated on my display, and honest to goodness, I thought it was a cool Star Wars design where it was a bunch of chopped off hands.
No, you know what? They don't make, you know this, Scott, like they don't make cool Star Wars shirts for people my size. You've got to get down to like where you and Adam are.
Hey, you know what size I'm wearing today?
Probably a medium.
This is a medium shirt.
Oh my God.
Is it the Empire Strikes Back shirt with the Death Star on it?
No, I did not buy the Empire Strikes Back shirt with a Death Star on it for the obvious reasons.
I know that was your favorite.
It's a Rise of Skywalker shirt, though.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually had when they first put it out, I needed a 3X and they didn't have a 3X. And then I got down to a 1X and they didn't have any 1Xs. And I got down to a large and they had larges and I bought one and the large was too big, but my wife had a medium and she's like, well, I only sleep in it anyway. So I traded t-shirts with my wife. So she's got my old large and I've got her medium. And
all in the family right there.
Yeah, but technically, I guess that kind of makes me like a transvestite because I'm wearing a woman's shirt.
Well, now there you go. We just messed up Joe's show.
Already derailed one.
I'm a cross dresser.
There you go. That's
yeah.
Well, that's good to know. And for those listening or who will watch us on YouTube later, Scott just made a nice announcement to everybody there for everyone.
And that'll get taken out as a clip and used.
No.
Yeah.
MediaMatters.org.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to start reaching out to whoever I need to reach out to.
Hey, I found out a couple of weeks ago, Media Matters has written me up twice already. So
that's
amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not know that.
You have to be something big though to get written up like that.
What?
I mean,
I want to get written up. I try so hard to get written up for what I say on Twitter, and just
I've been
it
watching.
hasn't happened.
Yes, my Rule of the Galaxy crew have been like, "What the heck is Adam doing?" They're like, "He is coming left, right."
And but Adam, and speaking of what the heck is Adam doing, the other day you posted your Freaky Five on YouTube, Adam.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Mhm.
Here we go.
And about being invited to a birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam is so, as Steve and I were having a conversation yesterday, Adam is so chill and Adam is so laid back. And the premise, I don't want to ruin the video, but I'm going to ruin the video.
Go
the
ahead.
premise of the video is Adam gets invited to a birthday party, and it's not a birthday party. It's an anniversary of a dead guy party. And the dead guy's body is like the centerpiece of the party. And Adam's just like, yeah, it was a dead guy in the room. We had a party. They took the dead guy. They burned him, and like they do.
Yeah. Well, they put him on display, and they have like a barbecue. Except you're not eating the dead guy.
But not
you're,
him.
You're eating not him. Just the other stuff on the tables around.
So they got the dead body surrounded by food.
Yeah, basically food and music and family fun.
I'm seeing a new version of Weekend at Bernie's right there.
It kind of is, except at the end, and I left before this happened. They bring Bernie out and they burn him, and then they smash his skull, and they they take select bones from the skull and they put it in an urn and bury that.
I like how Adam says they take select. It's like now playing in select theaters. It's not a big deal. Just
I'm going to take us in a different. I'm going to take us in a different route. Now that you're talking about that, one of the oddest things I've ever done was I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Don't hold that against me. But I go to Pittsburgh a couple times a year to watch a game, and I'm also I grew up in the Catholic faith, so I like to go visit and see different Catholic churches. And there was a Catholic church in Pittsburgh that, in cases around it, had bones from people that were saints or people that were from biblical writings. They had them encased in this church. It was very cool, but very odd all at the same time. So now that we've gone on the dead guy select bones thing, I figured, what the heck? It's a Star Wars show, but let's talk about these things as well.
no, I think actually that is kind of a cool thing. It is odd, but it's kind of cool. The thing that shocked me, it was just like Adam's story shocked me, but then at the same time, just how matter of fact it was. Yeah, went there. There's that guy there. Because I don't think I would have been that. I would have been like Scooby-Doo or Shaggy. My feet would have started going this, and then would have taken right off.
Well, that's why they have all the food there, Scott. It's Scooby. Keeps you brave.
They do a lot of weird things with death over there, and there's whale temples too, where they worship whales and dolphins and big fishes. And
we just call that the never mind. We just call that.
Yeah.
So we've obviously derailed multiple times in the first few minutes, and that's okay, because if we're all laughing, it's a good time. I'll just throw this out there. I'll go around the board. I'm 50. I don't know all your guys' ages. I'm guessing all 40s, maybe. I haven't kept track or looked at your bio that deep, so I apologize. But
Scott's pushing 60.
Oh, come on. He's gone from 3X to medium, and you're now aging him.
That's all I got on him now.
So obviously, being 50 years old today, I've been around for all 44 years of this crazy Star Wars thing that we all love. And I mean, throughout my life, I look at all these milestones of things where it was a huge part of my life and then it diminished. And it was a huge part of my life, and then it diminished. I look at things that, like, seeing the Phantom Menace with my son when he was 6, just like I saw A New Hope when I was 6 at the theater. That was just one of the greatest days. When my wife and I were actually engaged, and she didn't really know the love of Star Wars that I had at that time, because I had it a little bit hidden. She saw that I read Heir to the Empire, and the next thing you know, she walks into my house and she goes, "I know how much you like that book. Here's this book called Dark Force Rising. I thought you might like it." Right then and there, I was like, I'm marrying this one. We are in, right? But all these kind of things. Like when we were going to get married, I had to sell off part of my collection to buy an engagement ring because I had no money.
You should have sold your kidney instead.
Looking at the prices now, you are correct. But looking at your lives, are there certain milestones or certain things in your lives that stand out to you as either big moments in your life or big parts that Star Wars are a part of across these past 44 years? And if you want to throw in your age, just so it can compares and lays in there, you can do that so people can understand why that time frame means so much to you.
Steve was exactly 5 months old, or when Star Wars came out.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months. I was born January 25th. Star Wars comes out
4
May
months
25th.
old,
So it'd be 4 months old. Yeah.
4
So
months
I've been
old.
around for all 44 years as well. I don't remember the earliest ones. But the thing about Star Wars, and this is one of the things I always say, is Star Wars was always in my life. I don't know that I ever waned on Star Wars. I just think that what was available to me as a means of an outlet, or a means to spend money on Star Wars wasn't always there. But every VHS release that I could buy once I got a paycheck, started getting a paycheck, I made sure that I had my own copies of the original trilogy on VHS. And then the THX version came out on it again for the first time, once again. But as far as milestones in fandom go, for me, I think the release of the special editions was a really big deal. I was in college at the time. I had never, to my recollection, seen the original Star Wars on the big screen. And I guess some people would say, well, you still have it. But the night it premiered, I headed up getting, I think there was like 28 of us. I went and I gathered up everyone's money, went and stood in line for tickets, wasn't a long line, got tickets for everybody. Got there was a girl that I was with that I kind of liked. I think she kind of liked me, but by the time the movie was over, it was like, no, she didn't have much to do with me after that, because I was just so enthralled with what was going on. But I have no regrets about that at all, because it's like Jimmy Mack said on Geek Out Loud that time, there are plenty of girls, but there's only one Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And so, but that was such a banner night in my life. And it was something that I was so excited about. When the prequels came out, at that time, I'm just out of college, or just done with college, I should say. I'm kind of, or either, into my career. And so things kind of took on a different life. But man, that first night in 1997,
January 31st, 1997.
Yeah, was just a banner day in my fandom. And it's one of those days that I won't soon forget, because it was a really kind of a fun time. And it was a discovery of, at the end of Fanboys, dude that's been a jerk to his brother the whole movie comes up and says, I love the Wars, man. And it was that discovery of, like, everyone was like me. We all had grown up with Star Wars. And though I might have worn it on my sleeve a little bit more than other people around me did, they were all there with me when we grew up. We were all in this thing together, and it was just a really cool time. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Adam or Scott, take something like that on your ends.
Go ahead, Scott.
The problem is, like, while Steve was talking, he was jarring so many things that I'm trying to figure out which one I should bring up at this point. But I will say this: a lot of stuff I'm saving for the day when I actually do my episode of my Star Wars story,
hosted by Steve Glosson.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I've already asked you to do that. But the problem is, I'm going to get really in depth on the day the special edition debuted on my episode of that, and I don't think anybody wants to hear this. That's why I'm going to do it on my story, because it's kind of a gross story.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into that, but what was really emotional for me? It was 2007, and we were doing our every other summer trip to Disney World, and we're staying at the Grand Floridian for, I think, 8 days, and no, 8 nights, 9 days, and went to Hollywood Studios, and they were just opening the Jedi Academy there. In fact, they didn't even have a permanent stage for it like they have now. And now you can just kind of sign up for it. But back then they would pick kids out of the crowd. And so we didn't even know this thing really existed. And one of the cast members saw that we had a bunch of Star Wars stuff, and we were having, and what we do is you all know, because you all do the same thing. And a cast member overheard us and said, "Oh, you guys Star Wars people, huh? You're those people." And said, "Yeah, so, we got the Jedi Academy thing, and they, kids can get on stage and learn lightsaber stuff and everything." And, "Oh, that's great." And they said, "Now what you need to do is get there, it starts at like 2:00, get there 15 minutes early and get at the front so you can make sure you get picked." So, okay. So we took a G-man over there, my son, and again, he was 9 at the time. And we went over there, we got there early, and we got up, and sure enough, they picked him, and he got on stage. And they put his Jedi robe on him, and they gave him his lightsaber, and they taught him his moves. And then, because we'd never seen this show before, and everybody's seen it on YouTube now by now, but at the time, this was a brand new thing. Vader comes out, and Vader's going to stop everything. And I'm going, this is what? What's going on here? Vader's stopping the training. And then Vader basically challenges all the Jedi recruit kids to a duel. So each child in turn comes up and has a lightsaber fight with like a 3-move lightsaber fight with Darth Vader. And here's my kid. He's going to fight Darth Vader with a lightsaber. I've never been prouder. And I'm literally, and I've got, back in the days, we actually had cameras.
Yeah.
And I'm taking shots and I'm shooting video on the camera and everything. And my wife's like, you want to wipe your eyes real quick? No, just let me do this. My son is fighting Darth Vader. And it was one of those things. I bought a fancy Star Wars frame for it, and I have the shot of G-Man taking a swing at Vader and Vader blocking his swing. And it's just, I love it. I love that. That is probably one of my favorite emotional Star Wars moments. Because, you grew up with it, and this is the thing you always want to do. And then you always want your kids to kind of follow in you. You do want your kids to follow in your footsteps to a degree. You want them not make the mistakes you made, but you want them to follow in your footsteps and kind of, follow your passions as well and share your passions. And here was my kid duking it out with Vader like I would have always wanted to do.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And I'm glad you got the shot of it, because, gosh, the way you feel about it, if you wouldn't have had that shot, you'd be kicking yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Left and right for now. Adam, how about you? Something from the good old days, or something from recent that just felt like a big milestone with you with Star Wars? Was it when they first asked you to write something for Star Wars? I mean, because I know I would be losing my mind if someone asked me to do that.
Right. Yeah. I think probably when they asked me to write was one of the biggest ones. Star Wars has been so important to me. It's almost easier to talk about, the milestones of the low points.
Oh, no.
Like
way to bring him down on his birthday.
Oh no.
Like
Calling media matters.
Twitter storm.
That's Phantom Menace, Adam. Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Well, the prequels definitely registered in there. But yeah, I think the first big one, I moved out to an island when I was in junior high off the coast of Maine in 1989. And it was 25 miles out to sea. There was only like 25 to 50 year-round people. I went to a one-room schoolhouse. There was little to no TV reception most of the time. And at 1989, that kind of represented the death of the 80s to me, and maybe the slow, quiet birth of the 90s. But I was almost completely cut off from pop culture, and that kind of helped usher in a death of Star Wars too. The only kind of saving grace in that was one time I went into the mainland and I found that first Timothy Zahn novel, and didn't know anything about it, had no idea they were coming. And that was, I didn't grow up with the Marvel comics or really any supplementary material to the movies apart, from like the action figures and the movie books and stuff. But I didn't have a way to really keep Star Wars going in my life other than my own imagination and the action figures. So seeing that, I picked that book up and read that. I don't know if I read all 3 books or not. I know I read the first 2. To be honest, I wasn't into the books as much as a lot of other people were, but that's what we had. Then when I went to college, of course, as I've often said, I sold my action figures, thinking Star Wars was dead. And
so did I.
Yeah, I thought that was the end, and I was of the age where, in that late high school, early college age. Well, what do you do with these action figures? I've had them in the case for years and years, and now what? So I thought, okay, I'll sell them off and get some money to buy my first computer, not knowing that Star Wars was coming again just around the corner. And while I was in college, they had the special editions, and then action figures started showing up just completely unannounced on store shelves. Had no idea that was coming. And that was when I saw the action figures, that was when I really regretted selling them, because I just didn't know this was going to be a thing again. And it gutted me so much that I didn't actually start buying action figures really until about 10 years ago, and then just went absolutely crazy after I was still in Cambodia, but I was starting to decide that I wanted to come back to the US finally, after being away for years and years. And all my free time in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, I would just walk to different foreign bookstores where they happened to have Star Wars figures on the shelves. This was like 2011. And they had all the vintage collection and all the blue Clone Wars figures on the blue cards, they're my second favorite after the vintage collection. They had all.
Is that the Attack of the Clones figures you mean, or
no, the Clone Wars animated figures?
Oh, okay.
Which are, some of them are actually better quality than the vintage collection figures in terms of detail and articulation and accessories. They were really an amazing, underrated line, I think. But because it was Cambodia, they had a lot of stuff there, just peg warming, that had already long sold out, in the US, that you couldn't find over here. They had all the stuff. So I was just, buying them. I was paying about $25 a figure. This was like 10 years ago, because it was all imported a dozen times to get there. So it was really expensive, but I had the money, and just every day, it was so hard because I tried to be controlled. It's like, okay, I'm just going to buy one. I'm just going to buy one today. Okay. But then tomorrow comes and I got to walk to the store again. And, okay, just one. And then the next day, okay, just one. And before long, I've cleaned all the stores out in the entire city. And I have to start going to other cities across the country to check their stores. And pretty soon I've cleaned out all of Cambodia of all their Star Wars action figures. So
the Cambodian.
Then I decided, okay, now I need to leave.
The Cambodian cleaner.
Now I need to leave. Yeah. Now I need to leave Cambodia because they don't have any more Star Wars figures. Yeah. So now
they're going to kick him out.
New Zealand. Yeah. Then I went to New Zealand and I did the same thing all over the entire North Island of New Zealand. I stopped at every store that carried action figures and cleaned it. Seemed like I cleaned out the country. Then I came back to the US when New Zealand was empty.
And found out just how much we just keep them cleaned out around here just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Right.
You come to America, they're already pre-cleaned out now.
Figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No more action figures at all.
Exactly.
That actually reminds me that the action figure stuff, talk about another great emotional story. I don't know, we're not supposed to do but the one, but anyway.
It's okay. My dogs went crazy, so if you heard them barking, I apologize.
When the figures first started showing up in stores, obviously you see a wall of these figures and you go, I've got to have it. As a kid, I've got to have all these. And my parents went, you can have a couple.
Yeah.
You can have a couple. Now, what do you get? Now, when you're that age and it's the first Star Wars film, I think Luke Skywalker, you have to get. And then what do you get after that? Well, my parents told me I could get 4, which was great, but I wanted 12. And so I wound up getting Luke, Stormtrooper, and 3PO and R2. And the reason I got Stormtrooper was because I wanted Vader more, but the Stormtrooper was more versatile. In other words, he could be 1,000 Stormtroopers, whereas there was just one Vader. So when I played, I knew there wasn't a lot of utility for having just Vader all the time. And so I lost R2D2 in a freak ditch accident. And so I was down to 3 and I needed, the other 9. Well, you couldn't find a Jawa anywhere. You just couldn't. And I remember coming home from school one day and, I'm second grade or whatever. And my mom says, hey, do me a favor, go in there and look on your bed. And I'm like, okay. So I go into my room and laid out on my bed is 8 of the 9 figures that I don't have. My parents were always, in moderation, don't go overboard, don't get too much, don't, you can't have all the figures you want, all that other stuff. But yet my mom had found and located and gotten every figure I didn't have except Jawa because we couldn't find it anywhere. But so, I mean, just being a kid and being that wrapped up in it and that entranced in it, to just walk in your room and all of a sudden your mom has been very uncharacteristically not moderate in buying you all of that stuff. That was one of those blow me away moments.
So from our pre-show talk to now, one thing that has really stood out to me, and actually I had it down in my notes and I was way down in the notes, but it's bumped up the notes because of our discussion so far, is action figures. And I look at it today, and we had the discussion of, do the manufacturers now make them for kids? Do they actually make them for adults? Steve, as he knows, has got me hooked on the Marvels to where I'm buying all the old Toy Biz and the old, Secret Wars and all that stuff. But what is it, do you think? Was it just the time? Is it different now? Because we talked about it. Kids these days aren't walking down the toy aisle looking for action figures. If we would have had the internet, if we would have had more video games, if we would have had, do you think this was like lightning in a bottle? This one thing that happened between 77 and 84, 85? Or do you think, I mean, is that just now something, a relic of the past, where the reason we cling to them now and the reason I have all these behind me is because I grew up with that? Or do you think there's something different? Is it something just special about Star Wars? Is it the timing? What are some of your guys' thoughts on that? Because let's face it, one of the greatest things about Star Wars was you watched the movie, you knew you weren't going to see it again for quite a while. You had the comic books and you had the action figures. I mean, do kids really, they don't really grow up with things that way anymore, do they?
Neither.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just crazy that it means that much to us and that age group, but it doesn't mean the same to people younger than us right now. Or is it just me? I mean, that's the way I feel about it. Go ahead.
Well, I think I was thinking about this the other day because I as we said beforehand, the toys, what's he call himself? Toy Spectre on YouTube. Great guy, super knowledgeable about things. But I think that he has a little bit too narrow of a view of things when it comes to his toy maker side of things. Spectre Creative. Nick or Scott Neatlich is what his name is. I can't pronounce. I'm sorry, I'm butchering his last name. Spectre Creative YouTube's got a lot of great information. Says it has a lot of great things to say about collecting, but I do feel like I feel like within the industry, just based on some of the things he says, there's a little bit of a lack of understanding as to what people are looking for when they go to the store. It's like, hey, empty shelves are a good thing. Well, let me tell you what I look for in a store, having what I need. Tell me empty shelves are a good thing when we couldn't find paper towel and toilet paper. I understand that I understand that toys are not necessities, but I also understand that, if you are a collector, you got to go find the stuff. And I do think, I'm like, what makes us as adults so passionate about it when maybe kids are not? We're not playing with them anymore, but we did play with those toys. You know, we did not buy those toys as kids to display and have on the shelf and leave in the package. We bought them to play with. We got them for Christmas, excited to play with them, to add them to our collection, to expand our play. And so what do kids do nowadays? Well, most kids today, they have an iPad, they have video games. That's the version of play that they do. So when they're having their
phone.
right. So when they're having their discussions, I don't know what's going on the playground and stuff, but a lot of times you know, when I hear kids talk, it's not about the coolest new thing they saw on TV or the cool new movie. It's generally about either a video game or they're just mimicking TikTok videos.
Well, you know, yeah, it's funny. You know, I've got a couple of the grandkids, and we reach out to their mom. Hey, the kid's birthday is coming up. What do they like? Christmas is coming up. What do they like? And it's always the same answer. And we're thinking toys, toy lines, that kind of thing. And the answer is always, well, there's this YouTuber they really love, and he's got merchandise, and, you know, get some merchandise from this YouTuber. And they're 6 and 9.
Yep.
And that's their thing.
Yep. And that's kind of, and I mean, you know, you go to Five Below or some of these places and you see where the little kid Ryan has like these toys these things that he's put out that kids just eat up, you know, at a certain age. We've also kind of separated kids into what children want versus what older kids want or adults will want, rather than just kind of having the same thing across the board. And my example there comes with, you know, I was 3, 4, 5 years old and I wanted Star Wars figures as a child. Now, the Star Wars figures I wanted were Kenner Star Wars figures. And I didn't want anything else, you know. And so now they've got like your Galactic, you know, in the early 2000s, it was the Galactic Heroes line, which was cool, but it's a stylized line. But it's not something I look at that as, and I'm like, wouldn't have liked that as a kid. I wanted the Kenner Star Wars figures as a kid. And so we've made such a disparate, a difference between what a kid's line is supposed to be versus a collector's line, rather than just saying, here are your toys, kids, and trusting that kids will play with them and use their imaginations and have fun. Now, you know, I could be, and again, I could be way off on this, but I do think that based on the way that kids are into YouTube, kids are into video games, the attention span's different. The desire to have the stuff that they have is different than what we had. And I think the mindset's a little bit different too. When you talk to geeks, nerds, if you will, whatever word you want to use, there's also kind of a bit of a wink and a nod to, hey, look what I have. You know, do you have this? Do you have this? And there's that kind of like, I won. You know, I went to the store and found the retro carded Boba Fett. I didn't have to order him off of Big Bad Toy Store, Dorkside. I didn't have to pre-order this. You know,
this is so funny because Ryan and my buddy Ryan, I mentioned, I don't remember if I mentioned during the program before. You know, Ryan and I have been having this exact same discussion. I keep trying to find the retro Mandalorian figures in the stores. He keeps going, just order a case of them. And I don't want to do that. I want to find them in stores. I want to grab them off the peg and buy them, because that's part of the experience of the whole thing. And it's one of the reasons I so love those retro figures, is because they represent kind of everything they were to me as a kid. And part of that is not ordering them and getting a case and cutting the case open. Part of it is going and finding them on the pegs and then being excited and grabbing them and taking them to the front counter. And that's part of it.
Yeah. It's
I miss that.
Yeah. My number one memory of Star Wars action figures as a kid is when I went to the store, and for the very first time at either Toys R Us or Lionel Play World or Kitty City, I saw on the racks way up here the Bib Fortuna, that first wave of Bib Fortuna and the Royal Guard and the Gamorrean Guard and Squid Head and the first two Ewoks, Logray and Chief Chirpa. And my mother, for the first time, she said, Yeah, you can buy all the new ones. You don't have to buy just one or two, because by that time she knew, okay, these are important and they're all there. You can just buy them all. And I remember going home and opening them all up and laying them on the floor, not having any idea who any of these characters were, because we'd never seen them. So they were completely new. But that experience of seeing them on the shelves, that is my top #1 Star Wars figure memory. And you don't get that from pre-ordering on these stupid websites.
No.
If I want to recreate the nostalgia and the fun and those heart palpitations that I had as a little kid when I saw them, I have to go find them at the store. There's no other way.
Yeah,
there is, and there's still something really cool about, even when you're not looking for Star Wars, walking down the toy aisle.
Yes.
And there's a Star Wars figure, even if you're not going to pick it up. And it's not the same one you saw 3 months ago. You know, and I don't want to sound old on your birthday, Joseph, but you know, but it's true. It's this new era of things where we're just kind of expected to, I think, as consumers, to just fall in line with the way the manufacturer wants to do it.
Yep.
But look, as a kid, and I know now that the shelves aren't any smaller now than they were when I was a kid. I understand they're probably generally the same size, but there was something like in my memory,
right?
That wall of figures reached miles into the sky.
No, that's not just your memory. And one of the things that I kind of collect these days is when I'm on the internet and I find pictures of displays.
Huge.
And you've seen a lot of these on the internet. Every time I get one, I save it to my files because I love those pictures. And they're jam-packed displays that are pretty much floor to ceiling full of Star Wars toys. And we had that. And we didn't have to worry about, well, if we sell one off this peg every week, that's great. But if 8 go in 1 week, they won't know the difference. They were packed full and you had lots of opportunity. And you also got them everywhere. I mean, if you went to
Sears,
you went
Kmart,
you went
JCPenney,
to Circus World, you got it. But if you went to Sears, you got it. And if you went to Spencer, I got the Rebel Soldier, the indoor Rebel Soldier, I got from Spencer's.
Wow.
Yeah,
they had them turnstiles at gas stations.
Yeah,
I used to get them at gas stations on our
grocery
family
stores.
trip.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
grocery stores.
I mean, Scott, you might know this name, Pick and Save.
Yeah,
Waycross, Georgia, Pick and Save. It's kind of apparently they were attempting to be a Kmart or a Walmart style store because they had at the one in my grandmother's town, they had a little cafe and everything there in the store. But there you had to go to a back counter, almost like you're buying guns and ammo.
Oh, wow.
Pick out and because I guess people were stealing the figures or something. I don't know. But I remember having to look at one time and I'm like, I want the Han Solo. And it was the Bespin Han Solo from Empire. And I got that Han Solo. I remember distinctly getting that Han Solo at Pick and Save in Waycross, Georgia.
Never got that one on a card.
It's just well, listen, don't ask me where the card is this day.
Mine came
somehow through the years, Han lost his hand.
Oh wow. Mine came with it's a standard Star Wars trope.
Yeah,
I guess.
it is.
Mine came with the Cloud City playset with the Sears catalog.
Yeah.
With
I remember that. I had that too. Yeah. So and of course it got ripped to shreds.
Yeah. Piece of cardboard. Yeah.
Piece of cardboard.
Is it, go ahead.
But the thing is, it's like when you think about that, and obviously people can point and say, well, yeah, Kenner's out of business too now, aren't they? Well, okay, but that
was their
they
mistake.
were riding high on the hog
Kenner
in
was
the 80s.
acquired.
Right. So I just think, and even when you get to the mid 90s, to that resurgence of figures, there, I know there were people like hunting for variants and all this other crap that were going on. It was ridiculous.
Short saber.
It was absolutely out of hand with what people were looking for. Like, oh, you got to get the long saber. There was a short saber and a long tray and all this stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I was in Walmart with some friends and we were just kind of perusing the toy aisle because we're college kids thinking we're cool in the toy aisle. And there was this wall, and this was when the green carded figures were now out. We were beyond the orange card in the green card, and they had more characters than just your basic main characters. And I really didn't think that it would go beyond the release of Han, Chewie, Luke, and Leia kind of thing, and Vader. But then I'm seeing Walrus Man and Hammerhead with all these new names to them that I never knew. And I'm seeing Greedo. And I just looked at a friend. I said, my gosh, it's happening. And he's like, what's happening? I'm like, it's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I'm a poverty-stricken college student and cannot buy every single one of these figures. And it's absolutely killing me. But
oh, go ahead.
But even then, it wasn't like it was difficult to find Star Wars figures. It really wasn't hard to find Star Wars figures until, as I recall, Hasbro really got a hold of the line and strangled it.
Yeah.
Well, while you guys were college students doing it, I was a young married man with young kids, and
you and Ryfun both.
I wanted to have those things for them. Joey.
Oh, sure.
Joey was 97. He was 4 years old, and all the special edition came out, and all those characters came out. You're right. I could still walk in any Walmart, Target, whatever, buy up stacks for his birthday and for Christmas, because I had gotten him hooked on it when he was 2 or 3. He wanted that, and we could pile those up even then. So it's really weird that even in that time frame, not the 70s, but from the 90s to now, how it's gone this whole different direction. I know you guys have heard Jason and Jimmy on Rebel Force Radio talk about
who?
Yeah, the guys that run the entire podcasting universe.
They're so
but I really do like their idea, and I've talked to many people about it. Of we pay $10 a month for Disney Plus. We paid $10 a month for Netflix, whatever. Why can't Hasbro let us pay $10 a month so that every month, excuse me, when they release something, we just get to click on what we want to order. It's in our cart, and we can order it and be on that kind of service with them. Because yes, do we miss the nostalgia? Do we miss going in the store and seeing those caverns filled with things on either side? But why not make it an easier process? Because again, speaking with the gentleman they had on recently about why this works and why this doesn't work, well, alleviate that. Just make it to where you never have to have peg warmers. You never have to have overstock that you're clearancing out, because you make what people pre-order, right? I mean, I don't know. That's just, I love their idea. If we can't have it back to the old ways, I'd much rather have it that way than beating my head up against the wall, looking for an exclusive and knowing that I'm never going to find it. So
well, the other issue is like this right here. This guy is a $15 figure.
Mm-hmm.
$15 for that, maybe 12 at Walmart. But then if you grab a Black Series figure that's about 3 inches taller, a little bit bigger, $20, $21. So you're getting more bang for your buck out of the Black Series line now. And for people like me who are 3 3/4 inch, kind of focused, and now especially I just mainly do old school stuff, or that was like The Mandalorian, because I really dug that show. I'm very niche with what I will go with now when I purchase a figure. But it's still like, when you think about like Scott's mom in the story he told with 8 figures of the 9 on the bed, or Adam, being able to go and buy figures off the gas station rack and that sort of thing. You're talking about a price point that was, if you'd had some chores you did or got a little bit of allowance, you might be able to go to the store and come back with 2 or 3 figures.
Right.
And it's just not, it's not within the reach of a kid anymore to do a little bit of, yard work, to do a little bit of side job and go in and get a decent toy at all. It's kind of unfortunate. And I know it's kind of the way of things, and that's a whole discussion of economics, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that a lot of my joy in childhood came from my toy shelf and my toy box. That was one of the things. And I think that and it's been refreshing, but it's also been frustrating to find out I'm not alone in that. But it's also been frustrating to find out what collectors have done to the hobby of just enjoying Star Wars. I'd love to have a blaster for this figure that I lost the blaster for years and years ago. Oh, that's going to be $80, for this little piece of plastic. Well, oh, here's someone that makes them and he's selling them for $5 a piece. Well, now you're ruining the hobby.
Yeah,
You're ruining
just-
oh, well, wait, what? I didn't mean to ruin the hobby. I just wanted to be able to display my cool vintage Luke with the right blaster and a green lightsaber. Well, then you need to pay the price for what really is real. Okay,
Yeah,
sir. You know,
And yeah, and maybe that's not about authenticity. It's about the feeling it brings to you.
right.
And that's again, and I heard that discussion they had about the subscription service and everything. I think that's a route to go, but it wouldn't be something that interested me because again, a lot of mine is going to that toy aisle and
Yeah.
seeing the things on the toy aisle. That's what appeals to me.
Nope, I agree. So we've talked a ton about toys. One of the things that I find so entertaining listening to all of you and informative listening to all of you is just your passion and the love you have for Star Wars. And in today's world, we've seen it, whether it's on social media or what have you, just there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of people who, if it's not mine, it's wrong. If it's not this way, it's wrong. I try to take in all of Star Wars. I did watch Resistance. I didn't care for it, but it's Star Wars. So I watched it and said, I want to make sure I don't leave something out. I want to see it just so I can then have a conversation with somebody about it. It wasn't my favorite. I think we've all discussed that there were things about the sequel trilogy that were not our favorites or didn't maybe fit with what we look at as Star Wars. But I don't hate on any of the people who do, because on our show, we talk about all the time, there's an entry point for everyone. To somebody who's maybe 7 years old right now, Ray is the best thing since sliced bread. And, the Porgs are their Ewoks and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to hate on them for that. That's just their opinion, but it is still part of the Star Wars universe. When you look at this, what are your thoughts on these topics of, and I think Steve, you and I have even discussed some, but is there room for people to have these divisions in Star Wars, or do we really need to figure out ways to have our loves and passions for the parts of Star Wars we have and still not have this hatred and divide between people older, younger, one gender, another gender, however the divide is, what are some of your thoughts on that broad topic there of the fandom? Anybody's open.
No. I thought Steve was being teed up for that.
No. I mean, it's
not me, Scott. I'm
Adam,
gonna let you step in.
I'm gonna
this,
let. Adam didn't talk about toys last round. Adam,
Okay,
you
Adam.
lead the way on this. What?
yeah,
What are some of
Adam,
your
please
thoughts on
get
that?
Media Matters after you.
There's something to talk about other than toys. Well, yeah, people fight. I think a lot of that, the problem is just the internet. I don't remember fighting about things before there was an internet. But then again, I didn't meet very many people that liked Star Wars before there was an internet either.
Not on that island.
No. But I didn't know that people hated Ewoks until the internet. I thought the
Exactly.
Ewoks were the best thing there ever was. And then after the internet came out, I started seeing all this hate on them. And hate for Return of the Jedi. That was the best movie in the trilogy, until I heard other opinions on the internet. So
It was,
yeah.
and then I heard that.
So yeah, I think there's always going to be fighting.
Yeah.
I think fighting also demonstrates that it matters to people. I think if it didn't matter to people, they wouldn't fight over it. You don't see so much fighting over other franchises, even Marvel. Maybe a little more recently, as various agendas diverge in different directions. There's more fighting, but. Because those things traditionally haven't mattered to fans as much as Star Wars does. So, yeah, there you go.
We've got a thing also on the internet, and you see a lot of it on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's probably you've heard me say this many times before. Maybe I believe Twitter is the toilet paper of the internet because it comes in small pieces and it's covered in crap. And you see a lot of people attacking other people just for liking the Star Wars that they like. And there is Star Wars I don't like. There's always been some of that. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Ewoks Join the Fight. And the reason I wasn't the biggest fan of the Ewoks Join the Fight is because it didn't tell the whole story. It only told half the story. And I didn't like that. But I didn't go slagging people who, I didn't go attacking them for liking what they liked of it. And I think where it's really gotten ugly is we've always had ancillary things we could agree to disagree on. The West End game stuff, I always was a big fan of, though I don't play role-playing games, but I always bought all that stuff and all the source books and everything because I just found them interesting. But now a lot of the source of disagreement, we could generally agree on, although, yes, there were haters of Return of the Jedi, there were haters of Empire Strikes Back, but generally we could agree the core films are the core films and we love it. And then the prequels came out, and all of a sudden, you couldn't like all the core films. You weren't allowed to. You had to hate The Phantom Menace or you had to hate Attack of the Clones. And then the sequels came out, and another contingent of fandom said, "Oh, you gotta hate this, you gotta hate that." The thing that bothers me, I guess, the most about all of that is if you like it, God bless you. Be an evangelist for it. Do it. But and when the second somebody says something nice about something, they literally are savagely attacked and skewered over it. At the same time, the second they're critical of some things, people are also savagely attacked and skewered for being critical of them. And I think they have every right to be just as critical as the others do of liking it. I mean, it's kind of everybody's a bad guy in the fandom wars.
Yeah, I think you hate it. Go ahead, Steve.
I think it's Adam brought it up. Adam said something that I've said oftentimes in my life. It was kind of a mantra on Geek Out Loud or in the early days that I didn't realize people hated Ewoks until I got on the internet. But the thing is, with as toxic as fandom is, I remember a couple of years ago at the last celebration, you just kept expecting, well, when is the big fight going to break out? When are they going to come for all these haters and everything? And it never did. Like, there was never the big fight. There was never, because it's one thing, even if you have your real name on the screen, it's one thing to sit behind your keyboard and say certain things. And it's another thing to be face to face.
Yeah. Look somebody in the eye.
We used to sit around in my dorm and discuss Star Wars. I've sat around with friends and discussed Star Wars and disagreed about Star Wars and had disagreements about Star Wars that I vehemently will disagree with them on some things. But I also come away as their friend.
Yeah.
I remember, though, my response, and this is what I thought, because I'm going to tell you, when I saw The Force Awakens for the first time, and I've never been happier to talk. In fact, I've never been happy to talk to Scott except for this one time. He called to ask me what I thought, and we were on the same wavelength about The Force Awakens, and I was just like, oh, thank goodness I'm not the only one here, because the first showing of Force Awakens I saw, I was underwhelmed. When I came out of The Phantom Menace, I was on cloud nine. I was, we went to McDonald's afterwards, and we grabbed straws and we're like doing lightsaber fights, waiting on our food. Like, we were just over the moon. When I came out of Attack of the Clones, I was just like stoked on that final battle. Like it, no matter what you slog through to get to the Geonosis arena, when you get there, it's on and it's glorious and it's wonderful. And Yoda whipping out that lightsaber is just fantastic. Revenge of the Sith, I had things that I would have rather seen happen in those prequel movies, but what was given to us in the story that we were told, I didn't come out like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So it's not a matter of expectations not being met or expectations being subverted. It's a matter of the execution of those stories, in my opinion, was really good. And I came out of all those movies super excited about those movies.
Mhm.
At the end of Force Awakens, as the credits roll, I was with friends, and all of them turned to look to me because I was the most verbose of the podcasters in the group. And I realized in that moment, I have a responsibility because I see the excitement in their eyes to not rain on their parade.
Sure.
And so when they looked at me and said, "What'd you think?" I just responded, "What did you think?" Like, "Oh, I loved it." And I'm like, "I'm so glad you did." Whew. You know, and it told them that I wasn't as happy with it as they were, but it also was not an indictment on their opinion because it was different necessarily than mine.
Well, yeah, and
I love it.
you know, the funny thing is, I'm not trying to make this Last Jedi Bash Fest, but since we're there,
Derailed.
I went to that initial screening of The Last Jedi, and then the next night I was doing a play on stage. So I went Thursday night to see Last Jedi, and the next night and everybody knows I am the Star Wars guy. You all have that in your life, where everybody comes to you for their Star Warsiness. And so everybody, you know, we're in the dressing room getting ready for the show. Hey, what'd you think? What'd you think of the movie? And the only thing I would say was, I think you just need to see it for yourself. You know, I didn't say, boy, that. And by then, by the way, I'd seen it twice. I saw it Thursday night, then I saw the opening show Friday morning. And by the way, the opening show Friday morning, I actually dozed off during the Canto Bite sequence, and it was a better experience. But that's not untrue. But yeah, when people would ask me, "Oh, Last Jedi, what do you think? What do you?" And I just, to everybody, I said, I just think you need to see it for yourself and make your own decision. I didn't rave about it, but I also didn't sit there and anybody who told me they liked it, I didn't say you're stupid. I just said, well, let's have a conversation about that. What did you like? Why? Because honestly, I want to know why people. I don't want to find a reason to hate things that are Star Wars. I want to find a reason to love Star Wars things. I mean, you know, I'm already prone to loving it.
Mm-hmm.
So it should just be a very small push over that cliff.
Nope. I like it. And I think, you know, we're all Americans. I mean, I think all four of us are
Most of
Americans.
us,
Yeah. Adam might be a little bit more, I don't know. He might be, he might have
he's got
double,
some international flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. So, double citizenship. That's what I was looking for. So I don't know, but
little communist in my heart there.
Oh my gosh. But as Americans, again, I come from Indiana. You guys are in Georgia. Adam, honestly, man, Maine, Michigan, Cambodia. I don't know where you're from, but
Adam abides, man.
Yeah.
The dude abides. That's who Adam is. Adam is the Lebowski of the Geek podcast.
The thing that I look at is, as Americans, you know, I love the city I live in, and I root for the teams I root for, and I look at the political party that I, you know, kind of lean towards, and all that stuff. But we're still Americans, and I look at that, you know, we're the melting pot. I envision Star Wars being that melting pot. You know, there are fans that are just prequel fans. There are fans that are just Rebels fans. That's great because they're all Star Wars fans. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Unless you like Mara Jade, then you're not.
Oh well, yeah, no. Unofficially, the Rule of the Galaxy crew is basically a Mara Jade fan club. So, but I was just reminded that in about 15 minutes I'm supposed to go meet my lovely wife and my kids for lunch. So we've got about 15 minutes.
Oh,
and
no.
I know we haven't been on that long, but again, I didn't want to take too much of your time during your busy days, but I want to end on something that, or maybe won't end on this, but at least it's a topic that I want to go down is, in your Star Wars fandom, what is something in Star Wars that you love, that you hold in the highest regard, that you just have a passion for, that you don't think most people would know? That you don't think that, like, people are like, oh, when I think of Scott Ryfun, this is what he loves in Star Wars, and that's it. There's, you know, that's the highest of high. Something secretly, some inner little gem that you're like, man, that thing right there, it hits me just a certain way. A couple things for me. I don't know why, but I have an affection for Asajj Ventress. I love the character of Asajj Ventress, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the voice. I don't know if it's she battled Dooku, she battled Obi-Wan, she battled Anakin. I don't know why, but I like that character. When I was growing up, I had the Marvel comics. That's what I lived by. 35 cents a month. I could come up with that, right?
Mm.
That series with Jackson and the Don Quixote character and Han and Chewie on that adventure right there. That still every time I open up and I read it, and I wish that, yes, they got the new Jackson character coming out. I wish it was more the cartoonish comic style version, but that's another story for another time. That one still, that sits with me as well. And then honestly, Steve, I think you mentioned it on your end. Here I am, a 50-year-old guy. 1999, I was 28. My son was 6. I still get kind of jazzed up. I think Phantom Menace does not get some of the respect it deserves. Did it have bad parts in it? Sure. But I think Phantom Menace holds up very well. And it's one thing, obviously, the original trilogy. We can all say we love things about the original trilogy, but looking outside of that, those are things of me. Those 3 things right there are some of the things that, man, they're right up on that list for me that I'm like, I don't know why I love them so much, but I do. So, Steve, I'll start with you. What's something besides Ewoks, which you've already mentioned? What's something besides Ewoks that people wouldn't know that you love secretly or hiddenly about Star Wars?
I don't know that anything that I love is secret about Star Wars, but I will throw this one out. The Dexter Jetster scene in Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
That scene, I love a diner in Star Wars. I mean, we had a cantina, and to a kid like me growing up in a Baptist preacher's home, the idea of a cantina was just this foreign concept. Like, it never occurred to me that there were real dive bars on Earth that people would go to and have similar experiences. But a diner and a big fat cook, who apparently has stories to tell. That look, here's the thing: if they said that Disney Plus in the fall is coming out with the Dexter Jetster animated series, I would be there for that. Like, this is the history of Dex. This is how I got into all of these. This is how he knew they were Camino saber darts, but he hugs Obi-Wan. Like, there's an affection there between those two. There's camaraderie, and there's joking, and I love that scene, and I love that character, and it's one of those things that it's 3 minutes, and so there's not a lot to talk about, so, but it's one of those things that just make me smile. Well, him hiking up his pants with one of his forearms and everything, it's just great.
Dexter, Brian Massengale, who's on our show usually with Rule the Galaxy, I asked him if there was an obscure thing that we can make a Disney Plus series about, what would it be? He wanted a Dexter Jetster, the cafe, the diner, with different guests coming in all the time with background stories. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I'd love a young Dexter Jetster series, all on Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Well, that's what Star Wars Detours is, isn't it?
I did see that one from Weird Al Yankovic
in there, yeah.
Now, if it is, that'd be great. And supposedly there were rumors that still might show up on Disney Plus someday.
Yeah, but Adam, that's not canon. I want a canon Dexter Jetster series where he saves the Jedi Order.
The last several years have made me a big fan of headcanon.
Adam, how about you? What's something obscure that you love about Star Wars that people wouldn't know?
That's really hard because I think, especially like Steve, I kind of just throw it all out there, whether it's even the ugly stuff. So yeah, I'm with you though on Ventress. I think she's quite sexy in that evil Maleficent sort of way. In one of those early episodes where she like lightsabers the guy and then gives him a kiss, I think, while the lightsabers still stick. I don't think that's something you're going to see in Star Wars going forward.
It was a good scene.
I think that that's kind of a relic of the past. But I'd love to see more of it. it's not something I love, but something that might surprise people is I'm not really as a Star Wars writer, primarily of nonfiction reference. I'm really not a fan of the strict adherence to canon. I think it needs to be much more opened up and allow for, you know, creativity and the what if scenarios and alternate tellings and things.
I would be all for that.
And I think that's that whole debacle of canon and the fighting over it is often blamed on fans, but I think it's entirely a creation of the companies that own Star Wars. And I think it'd be better just to get away from all that. I think inevitably it will. I think we're starting to see things chipped away. I think with with this new Bad Batch, they're chipping away at it, like the retelling of Kanan's origins and stuff in that first episode. So I think that it's inevitable we'll see that more and more. Yeah, I don't know, just things that I loved. You know, I love at the time I loved the Ewok movies. I find number 2 is kind of hard to watch now as an adult. It's kind of painful at times, but I love them at the time.
All right, we're not friends anymore, Adam. Remember, that's how this is supposed to work.
No, I get you, and you're right, because I will say those Disney Plus releases of the vintage things, I've gone through and watched, and great nostalgia. Sometimes a little tough, but great nostalgia. It made you laugh and kind of like, oh, I remember this, but you're like, wow, these are not the Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch right here.
But a lot of things, you know, the way stories are told in popular media, you know, changes every decade or so. You know, our TV shows, the way they're constructed are different, and the movies and the series are all different. You go back to anything 80s that we love, you know, a lot of that stuff is actually painful to watch. I mean, I've been watching a lot of the first and second seasons of well, I don't know, they've got weird seasons, but a lot of episodes from the early GI Joe cartoons, you know, and there's some great nostalgic, really wonderful, you know, scenes and moments and memories in watching them. But there's also long sections of the GI Joe, very painful to watch some of that. It is so corny. Some of it just doesn't make sense. Like, why are you guys doing this? You know, and it's just some of the scenarios so incredibly silly. But there are parts I love, you know, as a whole, I love it. You know, that's my childhood, and GI Joe was probably, after Star Wars, GI Joe was number 2. So, you know, wouldn't swap it for anything. But, you know, so Star Wars is not the only thing like that. You know, you could pick anything.
Agreed. Mr. Ryfun, how about you? A hidden love or affection in Star Wars that we might not know.
And I like how you came to me exactly at 11:38. By the way, that's pretty cool. You know, this was tough for me too, because like these other 2 guys, I mean, I'm not real shy about telling everybody what I like and what I love about these things. You know, my real loves are the movies, obviously, and the comics, the music, the books, obviously. But I started thinking about it, you know, a few years ago, I went sideways doing something I had never done collecting wise before. And that was, I started buying art. I started buying prints. I started buying, and I think it started at Celebration one year. And I was literally just kind of strolling through Artist Alley, and I ran into Carlos Garzon, who was the guy who worked with Al Williamson on the Empire and Jedi adaptations. And those are some of my favorite. I mean, I love Al Williamson, and this guy was really his kind of co-equal partner for a while. And so I had a nice little conversation where I was kind of speaking in broken Spanish and he was speaking in broken English. And he had this marvelous print that was so evocative of the Empire Strikes Back era and the Al Williamson stuff that he worked on. And I bought that print, and it kind of set me off for buying more and more art. So all of a sudden I'm buying Matt Bush's stuff, and I'm buying. So I actually have, and almost none of it is hanging up right now because again, but even when I still had my office, there just wasn't room to put all this stuff up. So I have tubes and tubes and tubes that over the last, say, 7-8 years, I've acquired all of this art. And some of it's original art. I've got an original comic piece, a pinup that Austin Janowski did for Dark Horse. And I've just really, and I bought all of the artist edition, the IDW, because they were both books and art and Marvel Star Wars comics all at the same time. So I don't think people know that I've been collecting art off and on for the Star. And I bought all the Rancho Obi-Wan prints and just, that's the thing the other weird thing that nobody knows I've been collecting is domain names. I talk about as much as I love Marvel Star Wars. I own marvelstarwars.com. I own it. I own starwarsguru.com. There's nothing on it, but I own the domain. So.
Okay.
Why are you doing nothing with these websites?
No hace tiempo.
Nope. I get it. That's hey, speaking of time, that's exactly I mean, I'm shoving you guys into time slots. You're taking time slots out of me. You're exactly right. I do this more and we go over stuff more if we have the time. And that's what's crazy. I just want to tell you guys this. I've been listening to podcasts and paying attention to things on social media and things like that for Star Wars ever since all that stuff started. And the reason I bugged you three to come on here today was because it's weird to think that a year and a half ago, my son and I just started dabbling with doing Rule the Galaxy. We thought it would be fun. He's in this industry. And I thought, who are the people that I enjoy hearing from? Who are the people that when I listen to them, I feel like I'm listening to a friend and I'm having conversations back and forth in my car to nobody except them talking over my speakers or when I'm cutting the grass or whatever. And you three have been gracious enough to be on Rule the Galaxy. You've been gracious enough to, whenever I bug you on anything, you've reached back out to me and given me your time. So I can't thank you enough. And so on my 50th birthday, as we're celebrating 50 years of Lucasfilm, gosh, that's kind of weird. I'm that age of that. Oh gosh. But Walt Disney World.
Lucasfilm, did they create you?
Yeah, I think so. I might be the Omega.
Check the bottom of your foot. Check the back of your thigh and see.
1971.
Yeah.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
George Lucas could be your dad.
Oh gosh. Okay. Now, and that's another weird tangent, right?
No, his chin's too tight.
There he is, guys. There's that right hook at him.
Before we close shop, before we shut things down, anything you guys want to hit me with of last minute thoughts or anything like that before I go spend the day with my family doing birthday celebration stuff? It can be just bye, Joe.
Well,
I don't care.
Well, I'll just say thanks for letting us celebrate your birthday with you. It's been a good time, and I appreciate you letting us come on. When you told me it was your birthday and you want to do this, I knew I had to make it happen for your birthday. So, and it's hard to throw some new Star Wars content out into the internet sphere and get your niche and get followers and everything. But I feel like what you guys are doing is good and positive and can be, and you guys have some good discussion here and there. So, just keep it up, man. And thanks for having me on. Thanks for having us all on. And I would like to now pat myself on the back because I did not antagonize Scott as much as I normally would like to.
You did not. You told me that would be a problem. But hey, before I go, I will just say I just got an email from Mark Thompson, the voice on many of the Star Wars audiobooks.
Wow.
And he got approval. He will be able to be on Rule the Galaxy. So
sweet.
If you guys think of any questions, because I think that he does some great audio work on those books. So I'm going to be having him on very soon. So I'll just throw this out. Guys, again, I know we've never met face to face, but I consider you guys friends through the Star Wars community. Again, you've been great to work with and talk to, and I appreciate you more than you know. And you know, I'm thankful that you would come on and do this at the last minute with me for my 50th birthday. So thank you guys. I will make sure I tag all of your sites and Twitter accounts and everything like that, and make sure people know how to reach out to you. But it's been a blast. I'm sorry I got to cut it short, but hey, I got to go spend time with the family. So thank you
I
guys
thought
so
that's
much.
what we were doing.
I'll take you with me. Come on. I'll
Okay.
just put you on the phone and take you with me. But I'll tell you what, until next week, Star Wars fans, thanks for joining the ride with us here today and being along with us. These guys are great. You should follow them, listen to them, go to their podcast, be Patreon supporters, whatever you can do, because they're great people. From the Rule of the Galaxy crew and from Joe, you know, I'm old. I'm 50 now, guys. So thank you very much, and may the force be with you.